listening to the home of cool, irreverent, and entertaining talk, right here on LA Talk Radio. You're listening to The Art of Love with your host, Lucia, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Hello and welcome to The Art of Love. My name is Lucia. I'm your host and a dating and relationship expert, and I'm here to entertain, educate, and enlighten you about love, dating, and relationships, take your live calls, answer your emails, and speak to authors of books which I find interesting. And today I've done it yet again, I believe. I found yet another interesting book. Can I help it if I know how to choose interesting books with interesting authors? And the book is called The Broken Picker Fixer, From Heartbreak to Soulmate, Finding the Love You Desire in 12 Weeks or Less. So let me bring on the author, and we're going to find out exactly how to fix our picker. I know that sounds dirty. Fix our picker, not our pecker. Okay. Hey, Dawn, welcome to the show.
Hi, Lucia. How are you?
I'm just wonderful. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, let me give you a little introduction. Dawn Maslar, MS, is a professor, author, speaker, life coach, and radio talk show host. She's a member of both the Florida Speakers Association and the National Speakers Association. And the book, of course, The Broken Picker Fixer, found at thebrokenpickerfixer.com. So how did you come to write this book?
Well, I came because of my own experience. I had a broken picker, unfortunately, so I kept being attracted to the wrong type of guy. And the guys would change, but the situations would be the same. It would always lead to heartache. And finally, I had to take the time to work on myself. And once I worked on myself, I was able to address the underlying cause of why I had a broken picker. And then I realized that there was a lot of women out there that had the same situation I had, and that's why I wrote the book.
So, in the beginning of the book, you tell the story about the guy who jumped on the hood of your car with the distributor wires. Go through that story.
Well, I had a guy, I was leaving, getting into my car, and he jumped on my hood. In his hand, he was clutching my distributor wires, and he was standing on the hood, flailing around like a wild man, screaming, "Ha ha, you can't go anywhere now." And I took that as a sign that he loved me, and I married that man.
Ew.
That was my husband number one.
Oh, my
in
God.
the beginning of a line of broken picks.
Wow. And how long did that marriage last?
About a year and a half.
Oh, okay, good. How were you in your 20s at that time?
Yeah, he was my high school sweetheart, actually.
Oh, okay, good. Like kind of, you can be a little bit forgiven, for thinking that guy would be in love with you. So then when you say,
I thought it was wonderful. It's like, he wants me to stay. He must love me.
Oh, yes. He pulled the distributor wires out. What a man. And then once you figured out what you needed to do and to fix it, then how long did it take you to actually change?
The process takes, the book title has like 12 weeks or less, and it depends on where you are at in your particular situation, and I kind of give you some guidelines. But it usually takes about like 3 months to kind of go through the process because you need to address the underlying cause. Now, I've had some women I've worked with that have taken a longer time, and that's good too because the longer that you take to work on yourself, the better pick you pick later on.
Right.
Does that make sense?
The more you fix your picker.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So that either you can work out issues in the relationship or prior to the relationship.
Right. So then what would you define as a broken picker? I think we already know, but maybe what's your definition of it?
It's just an attraction to the wrong man. And what I mean by a wrong man is a man that usually leads to heartbreak or heartache. So, or the man is just wrong for you. One of the men that I was attracted to actually happened to be in a band.
In a what?
I like to be, excuse me?
He was in a what? I didn't hear what you said.
He was in a band.
Oh, a band, okay. Oh, we've all dated those guys.
He played in a band at night. Now, I was a college professor, and I am a college professor. So I work during the day, and I like to go to bed around, 10:30, 11 o'clock. That's when he started his job. So our lifestyles didn't really fit very well, but I was hoping once, we fell in love, he would change for me. Well, wanting somebody to change is not fair. It's not going to lead to a healthy relationship. So that is another definition of a broken picker, when you're trying to squeeze somebody in, change somebody to fit into what you want.
And do you think that there's like one main reason for a woman having a broken picker?
Well, there are several underlying causes. So for each person, it's different. Some of the underlying causes include unresolved pain, a belief of a lack of love, some negative programming, or not defining what you want. In that particular situation with the band member, I didn't define what I wanted. But it could be like negative programming. I had a girlfriend who believed that all men cheated. And because of that belief, she was always attracted to men that cheat, because you resonate with what you believe in. So if you have an underlying belief that, men are cheaters or men are angry, you're always going to be attracted to that, because the other way, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And I've also heard it said that, let's say if you go to a party and you see a guy across the room and you're like instantly attracted, that's the guy you should stay away from.
That's your picker in action. That little like, woohoo, you're all tingly inside, and you go walking over there, and he is a merchant marine, and he's stationed for like one more week, and you're like, okay, that's enough time for me. That's going to be a heartache. You're usually going to want to try to get him to stay or try to change that or whatever. But there is an underlying belief system, and it's hard to quantify that belief system, but that's what causes you to be attracted to somebody. And when you're able to fix yourself and change your underlying belief system, you pick better people.
Yeah, in fact, you wrote, and I quote, "Men that have heartbreak written all over them have us jumping around like we're walking on hot coals." Exactly.
We love I used to love the adventurous one, you give me a guy that just walked in off a Harley and I'm there. I don't want the accountant.
No.
Forget about him.
Hell no.
He's too boring. But I like the guy with no job.
Yes. No car, no money, no home.
Exactly. If he's on probation, he's got an ankle bracelet, he's my man.
It's funny because I was watching an episode of Cheaters last night, and the woman that was cheating, she had gone back to her ex-husband who had just gotten out of jail. And so then, of course, the new guy that she's with, who's the good guy, he comes in with the cameras, because she's been cheating. And you know what she said to him? She's like, "Well, you're such a good guy."
Exactly. Because, again, it's what we believe. So if we have this underlying belief about men, and I myself had an underlying belief I was not worthy. And I talk in the book about where that came from. And I had to kind of find that and heal that. But that unworthiness caused me to pick guys that believed I was unworthy. So they were guys that were going to not treat me as well as the good guys would.
Right.
And that was part of my problem, is I kept having this on-again, off-again relationship, because the guy would come along when he wanted to be with me, but I wasn't getting much out of the relationship, and I kept trying to figure out why I couldn't get him to do what I wanted him to do, and it was because I was with the wrong person.
Yeah, so I think we may have already answered this, but so how do women generally go about picking guys?
I think they pick guys mostly from looks. You have to have that little bit of chemistry.
Yeah.
You have to have that kind of, that unquantifiable something that attracts you to the man. And then once you start talking, you can see if you have things in common. And unfortunately, sometimes the things that we have in common are these subconscious little belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
So once we start talking and we kind of figure, oh, yeah, family connections and, things that the way we grew up, usually those give the same type of belief systems. So when we feel attracted to people that are kind of similar to us,
mm-hmm.
similar in backgrounds, and you don't usually attract complete opposites.
Right. Okay, so then at the beginning you have this list of how someone can tell if their picker is broken. So let me go through a few of these. Of course, these made me laugh because I totally saw myself in these. You said the man you just slept with didn't call you. Okay, your picker, you may have a broken picker if the man you slept with didn't call you the next day. So so.
You might have one.
Oh, okay.
You might have one if he didn't call you the next day. You definitely have one if he doesn't call you the next day and it's the fifth time.
Right.
That it happens, right.
So then are you saying that if we have sex with someone and he doesn't call the next day that we should just move on?
No, not necessarily.
Uh-huh.
What I'm saying is that if you keep having sex with people and they don't call you and you don't hear from them again, you probably have a broken picker.
Okay. So it's like the fifth guy to do that or whatever.
Exactly. It's kind of a takeoff of Jeff Foxworthy. You might be a redneck.
Yes. Okay.
You might have a broken picker.
Got it. Okay. Duh. All right. How about you start dating a man? You might have a broken picker because you start dating a man because, well, he's so damn sexy.
Exactly. And you definitely have a broken picker if you date a man, well, because he's so damn sexy. And that's saying that if there's nothing else.
Yeah.
You have nothing else in common. The guy he only grunts his words, but you keep dating him because, well, he's just so damn sexy, then you might have a broken picker. I have had women that have stayed in relationships for years with guys that they didn't have anything in common with and they didn't really respect just because he was kind of eye candy.
Mm. Right. You've been there, done that. Okay, so here's another one. You might have a broken picker if, and again, this sounds like me, you go to a business function full of eligible men, but find yourself wildly attracted to the hunky busboy.
Exactly. And then you definitely have a broken picker if you leave the business function and take off with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I would at least stay for the business function. And then you said you might have a broken picker if you're reading this and you're thinking, it's not my picker, I just haven't found the right guy.
Exactly.
But it's probably the picker. So, okay, and then you talk about some of the wrong men. So let's go through some of these. Who is Mattress Man?
Oh, Mattress Man is the man who appears to have a mattress on his back. He's the one that Rico Suave, and he's got all the lines, and he's just trying to sweep you off your feet and flat on your back. And basically, you kind of know the game when you first meet him, but you're still kind of attracted to him, and you kind of feel like the relationship might be over once he beds you, but you still kind of play with fire, and then it happens that you end up sleeping with him, and then he's gone because it was all about the conquest. It wasn't about a relationship.
Yeah. Why do you think we're so attracted to wanting to play with fire?
Again, it's going to be there's an underlying belief system, or there's an underlying unresolved pain that needs to be addressed. And it's going to be different for each woman, but I would find myself in that situation because of my unworthiness. Mm-hmm. And I would think that if I was able to get him to love me, I could prove that I was worthy.
Right. And then he doesn't love you, and then you feel even more unworthy.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, it's
not a good plan.
Yeah, you're just digging a deeper hole. Okay, and then another guy is Teflon Man. Who is that?
He's the guy you can't get a relationship to stick.
Mm.
You know, you start dating him, and he seems like he wants to have a relationship, and he'll actually say he wants to have a relationship, and then all of a sudden he stops calling you, and he's gone for a week, and you're like, where have you been?
Yes.
And he's like, he's busy all the time,
Yes.
and you just can't seem to get the relationship to go.
Right. I had one of those, and I got rid of him recently.
Yes. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, because I decided I want a relationship, and so when I saw him acting that way, I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. Don't have time for this.
That's great, Lucia, because a lot of women will sit there and try to figure out what to do, and then they start, try to manipulate, and you get frustrated, and it's very frustrating because you call your girlfriends and you're like, well, he said this, and you're trying to figure out exactly what his subliminal messages mean. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I recently heard a quote that said, the wrong guy will have you wondering, the right guy won't.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Okay, then next we have Mr. WWIT. What does that mean?
Oh, that was What Was I Thinking? The guy who, he doesn't even seem right to begin with, but you just kind of attracted to him, then you end up having a relationship or sleeping with him, and then a little while later you wake up and go, what was I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Once the hormones kind of wear off.
Yes, once you've come out of the fog.
Exactly. Yeah, especially if you add alcohol, this compounds the broken picker syndrome.
Yeah, I know. A lot of times you women say that, they slept with someone or they did something dumb, or guys too, and I go, why? And they're like, well, I was drinking. I'm like, ugh.
Exactly. That's the WW what was I thinking guy. When you wake up and you're going, oh, I'm not sure why I was attracted to him.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have Mr. White Knight. Who is that?
Well, there's the pair. There's the White Knight, and that's usually the guy that you go with after a breakup. So he's the guy who kind of pacifies you. He may be a very sweet man, but he's really not the one that you're that attracted to. You end up leaving him the next one is the Dark Knight. And that's the guy that rides up on his Harley and he's exciting. The White Knight's at home cutting his grass. We're getting bored with him.
Uh-huh.
He's being responsible. We're taking off with the bad boy.
Right. And then who's the Cookie Monster?
Oh, that's the sweetie.
Oh.
He's love's equivalent to empty calories. He tastes good, he looks good, but he's not very good for you, just like a cookie or a cake, or if you're eating too much sweets, what that can do to your body?
Right.
Same thing. He does it to your mind. He's like sweet and he tastes great, but he's not giving you what you need, no nourishment. He's not giving back in the relationship.
So, okay, help me understand this more. So it's like it's a nice guy, but you're not getting anything from him?
Well, he's the one who usually looks good, tastes good, but he's not. He'll come over at 11 o'clock at night, but he's not during the day. He doesn't really give you much in the form of a relationship.
Okay.
He's not really commitment material, but he's just fun to be with.
Got it.
He's the party guy.
Oh, okay. So then you have the 12-step program for fixing the picker, and let's go through some of the steps. The first one I totally identify with because I'm actually doing this right now, and that's the personal retreat.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, the personal retreat is just taking some time off to work on yourself. And that was a hard one for me. It's a hard one for a lot of women. It's you stop dating.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women, and particularly me, I liked the positive affirmations from the outside. I like to get attention from men.
Yes.
I would go online or I would do other, I would dress up in a way that attracted men, because that's what women are supposed to do. We're supposed to be attracted to men.
Mm-hmm.
But in a personal retreat, you're going to stop looking for that attention and focus on yourself. And it's difficult to do, but it is necessary because then you're changing the focus from the outside to the inside.
Right. But then, what are you supposed to do if men are focused on you anyways?
Well, you tell them what you're doing.
Oh, okay.
You tell them what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. Just say, I'm taking some time off right now, and, I'll contact you in 30 days or something. Usually, if they care about you, they're fine with it. If they're not fine with it, they don't really care about you. And it's kind of a way to weed them out. Because if all they're really wanting to do is get your attention when you're trying to work on yourself, then they're really more self-centered than you probably want in your life.
Right. And plus, yeah, if someone's really interested and you tell them, no, I can't date for 30 days, 60 days, if they're really interested, they'll be counting down the days, waiting.
Exactly. And they'll be fine with it. They're like, oh, good, take care of yourself. I want a healthy woman.
Yeah. I guess my retreat is a little different than that. It's more like I'm not really dating, and it's been like 6 months.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
The longer, the better. The longer, the better. Yeah, I put 30, 60, 90 days is kind of a minimum, because when women first see it, they're like, wow, I don't want to take that much time off. But once you start taking the time for yourself, it doesn't seem like that big a deal. And then the months can add up, and people go, wow, 9 months you haven't dated. And it's not that big a deal when you're working on yourself, you're having fun, you're doing things with girls, or, you're still doing stuff, you're still living life.
Yeah.
You're just not focusing on male attention.
Yeah, because I think everyone seems to just jump from relationship to relationship or dating situation to dating situation. And when you say, if you were to tell someone, okay, take a 9-month or 6-month break, they'd be like, what?
Exactly. It's scary. No. But yeah, just taking a little bit of time. I have a group of girls I've been working with, and they were supposed to take, 6 months or 6 weeks time off. And now they're working on 6 months. Mm-hmm. And they never thought they would be that way, but they're kind of like, we're really enjoying this. We've got, as we start working on ourselves, we're seeing some more things we'd like to have rectified before we start dating. So you're clearing out all this old stuff prior to getting into a relationship, because it's still there. If you get into a relationship, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to do it one day. So you might as well do it now before you get in a relationship and you start, getting upset about something that was silly, or, whatever it is your situation is going to be. If it's an unworthiness thing, then all of a sudden you start wondering, you're looking for affirmations from them. Do they really want to be in a relationship with me? And that can come off as needy. So if you can clear that out, that makes a better relationship.
Yeah, and also, you had a quote in here by John Bradshaw that I can't find right now, but basically, I think until you can stop a problem, you have to stop what you're doing and go into ground zero or neutral for a while, and then you can move on back to dating, because you're not going to just change what you were doing all of a sudden just by saying, okay, I'm going to change and let me go date the next guy and I'm going to change. It's like, no, you have to not date. Also, just to see that you're fine, and you have I'm actually very happy. I'm a little too happy by myself here, and my life is.
Well, the thing is, if you're not happy alone, you're never going to be happy in a relationship. The relationship actually brings out your emotions more.
Yes.
So any emotions that you're having trouble dealing with now are going to be magnified. So if you don't feel comfortable with yourself, you're definitely not going to feel comfortable in a relationship, because then all of a sudden the stakes are higher. He might leave you now, and then what happens?
Yeah.
When you're alone, it's a little bit easier. So the more you can do right now, the so much better the relationship is going to be.
Yeah, and also in taking the break, I think you just give your heart and your soul and your psyche a break, because if you've never done that, sometimes you need a break, just like we need to sleep, to rest from our daily activities. You need to take a break from your dating. And when you do that, then you come out on the other side, I think, refreshed and renewed and ready to do it right this time.
Absolutely.
So, okay, and then another in this 12-step program is journaling. So what is that?
Journaling is just writing down your thoughts and feelings every day. And you're only doing a couple pages. You could do more if you wanted, but you're going through, it's a process of clearing out. You're trying to get to those emotions that you've had. A lot of people have emotions that have been buried for years, the stuff we've been trying to hide and push down. And by journaling, you're getting rid of the superfluous stuff and getting down to those emotions.
Yeah.
Then the next one you're going to talk about is meditation. And those two combined help you get down to that piece where you're trying to get to really find the underlying feelings that you have.
Yeah, and with the journaling, which I do, it's addictive.
Oh, yeah. My journaling actually turned into magazine articles.
Ah. Yeah, and it sounds almost crazy. It's like, how can it be addictive? But when I was going through something last year, I didn't really have anybody to talk to about it. And whenever something would happen, I would get anxiety or whatever. It's like, okay, where's my book? I got to go write. And just thinking that just writing it down in a book is going to help, but it actually does.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because all of a sudden you don't have to carry it around, rattling around in your brain anymore.
Oh, is that the reason why it's so helpful?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've already have it written down, so your mind goes, oh, okay, I don't have to keep remembering this like I have, like you keep remembering where you put your keys or, I got to remember that. I got to remember to call Joe. I got to remember to call Joe. Well, you wrote it down. You don't have to remember anymore. It's like, all right, I know it's there. If I need to look it up again, I'm fine with it. And it gives you permission to let it go.
Yeah, and I actually suggested this to a friend of mine once, and he was afraid to do it. He's like, no. And I go, why? And he goes, I'm afraid of what I might find out.
Yeah. It's still there, though.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know it, it's still there. And it can be wreaking havoc on your life, and you might as well find it out, and then you can do something about it.
Exactly. Okay, then another one is the positive affirmations. And you said that the main way a woman hurts herself is through negative self-talk.
Right, yes. I can't remember. I think it was Easterbrook who had the quote about, or no, I think it's John Gray. John Gray talks about how women hurt themselves by negative self-talk. Men will go outside themselves, war, fighting. The men will pour off their energy that way. Mm-hmm. Women tend to affect themselves internally. So the positive affirmations are very important for women because we feel, oh, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. We keep rattling around that in our head. But what we need to say is, I am, I deserve love, or I'm a child of God. I'm worthy. I am worthy. All those, whatever you need to do for yourself to give that positive affirmation that you are okay.
Mm-hmm. Now, like for me, like affirmations don't work because they seem like fake. Like saying to myself, okay, I deserve love. I deserve love. Saying that, I don't believe it. So what I do is I either replace it with a positive thought. So if I have a negative thought about myself, I either replace it with a positive thought or I just tell myself to shut up.
Yes. I mean, turning it off is great. And a positive affirmation is replacing it with a positive thought when you have that negative thought. So if some people will meditate, and I've done this, I do this, I'll meditate over a mantra of like a positive affirmation. And I'll keep doing it for a while. And at first it feels silly, and particularly if it doesn't resonate with what I feel inside. Mm-hmm. So if it's the complete opposite of what I feel, like I am worthy. If I don't feel worthy, I'm going to be like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
But then I know that's the one I got to do because I don't feel worthy. So I have to keep going until it really sinks in that I am worthy. I am worthy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And also you said that, the way that you talk to yourself is the way that a partner will talk to you. You'll attract that kind of partner that will talk to you in the same way. So that's another reason you need to change the negative self-talk. Exactly.
Yeah, because if you're like, you're an idiot, and then when they say, oh, yeah, you're an idiot, how can you disagree with them?
Right. You can't.
You can't. So you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. I guess I am an idiot. But I don't. Yeah, I don't want to be an idiot.
Right.
So yeah, and that's one of the reasons why the more work you do, the more time you take, the better relationship that you find yourself in, because you've done more of the work, the more positive affirmations. So if you get into a relationship, and I've actually had this happen, where they said something to me that I didn't agree with, that hurt my feelings, I was able to say, you know what? That hurts my feelings. I don't really like that. And then they were able to change the way they talked to me. But it was only because I had reinforced myself with the positive affirmations.
Right. Yeah, I had that same thing happen recently where, I usually let the guy call. So I would never call this guy. And so he was not very happy about that. So he called me one time and he's like, well, how come you never call me? What, you think you're too good to call me? And I was like, wow, there's no need for him to talk to me like that. I'm like, I'm not thinking that I'm too good to call for him, but obviously he thinks that I think that I'm too good to call him. And so I brought it up and I said, that's not cool.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it's a subtle way of like kind of putting you down and trying to manipulate you. And you're saying, no, I'm not going to buy this. I'm not buying into this game.
Right.
I am worthy of better.
Yeah. And that's why. And I was able to bring it up and then he apologized.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I talk about in the book male and female energy, and the male is supposed to be the one who pursues, depending on the type of relationship. As the cougar expert, it kind of skews the relationships a little bit. So if you're in a situation where the woman's older, then that changes the energy. So then you may be the one who's pursuing. But in a historic male-female relationship, the male is usually the one who pursues. So he's the one who should be calling.
Right. And also, even with the cougar things, I do teach the women that, he's still a man, and I actually let them tell them to have the guy calling and pursuing, and more often than not, it's actually the guys that are initiating these relationships. Good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Even though the whole world thinks that these women are out there prowling after these young guys.
Right. It all depends on what you want. There's some women that really want to have that male, and they want to be the more dominant one.
Definitely.
So, and that's why, and those tend to be slightly age different. But it's defining what you want in a relationship, and everybody is different, and everybody's entitled to exactly what they want. They deserve everything they want.
Exactly. Yeah, we're actually going to talk about the energy thing in a minute, but I just want to finish a few more of these steps. Then how about pampering yourself? Of course, I love that one.
Oh, yeah, that's a real hard one to do. I'm requiring you to go to a masseuse or go to the salon for a pedicure or a haircut. You're going to do something every week to pamper yourself and make yourself feel good, because, again, no one's going to treat you better than you treat yourself. So if you want to be treated well, then you treat yourself well. So you do something very good for yourself. And that's part of, another part of the book is eating right and taking care of yourself. Again, you want to do some exercise. You want to get enough sleep, because you are now telling the world, by the way you treat yourself, how you want to be treated.
Right. I actually did all three this week: hair, nails, and massage.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
But then how about, let's say, a guy listening to this would be like, oh, well, she sounds high maintenance.
That she's high maintenance?
Yeah, they think if someone does all those things all the time that they're high maintenance.
Well, he doesn't know you're doing them. He doesn't necessarily know you're doing them.
I know, but
the guy usually appreciates the nice nails and the nice haircut. And again, then that's good. If the guy's going to say that, you don't want to change yourself for a man.
No.
So if he's the kind of guy that goes, oh, she's just high maintenance, let him walk by anyway.
Right.
Because apparently he's not going to. He's going to want you to be less than you really are, or really can be.
Yeah, there's this photo of me actually in South Beach, and I'm wearing, a nice dress, nice heels, my hair's done, and a guy made a comment and he wrote, "She looks high maintenance."
Well, again, that's probably somebody that doesn't really care about himself that much. He thinks he's not in the running, so he's going to put you down.
Right. It's like, yeah, since when is looking good now become high maintenance?
Right.
Okay, another step is, another favorite one is daydreaming. What does that consist of?
You're going to start dreaming about the life that you want, because that's where it all begins. You can't build anything until you first envision it. Everything begins with a vision. So if I want to build a house, I have to think about what I want in the house. If I'm going to build a life, or if I'm going to build a relationship, I've got to think about what I want in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the daydreaming is. You start daydreaming about what you want. And then later on, we're going to figure out exactly, we're going to quantify what you've been thinking about. So you just start, because when you first start daydreaming, you're like, I'd like to live on the French Riviera. I would like to, you have all these different things
Yes.
that really don't fit together.
Right.
So then later on, after you throw it all into a big pile, you start going, well, what's really important? What do I really want? Where do I really want to live? What kind of job do I really want to have? And then that's going to dictate the type of relationship you're going to have, because you want to have one that fits in with the lifestyle that you really want.
Right. And then one final step is kind of similar to daydreaming, and that's the vision board.
The vision board, yes. And that's where you finally take all the things that you've been thinking about, and then you're going to take representations of them. So you're going to take different pictures or words, mostly pictures, because a picture is worth 1,000 words,
Mm-hmm.
and you put them onto a board. And I tell a joke in the book about how you have to be careful where you get your sources from. I had gone to the library, and I found a bunch of magazines for like a nickel a piece, and they were water sports and surfing magazines. So I cut out pictures of couples, happy couples, but they all tended to be like on a boat or walking on the beach. And I ended up, the man that I met after doing all this was a yacht broker. And on our second date, he took me out on a yacht.
Mm-hmm.
So it was actually very representative of the relationships that I found. So you want to make sure that if you want to live in South Florida, or if you want to live in California, you don't want to probably get Better Homes and Gardens Winter Edition.
Right. No.
To take pictures out of.
And how long did it take from when you cut out those pictures to when you met the guy?
About 2 months.
Wow.
I began dating, and I went and I dated several different guys, and then finally I met the one I'm with, that I decided that this is going to be the one I wanted a relationship with. And what happens is, you kind of get, in the beginning when you first start dating, it's almost like you kind of get the minimum. And it's like, all right, this guy comes along, and then you're like, well, he's okay, but I want to have somebody. For example, I met one guy, he was a great guy, but he really didn't have, he was trying to go back to school, so he was going to be financially locked up for a while. And I said, he's great, but I don't really want somebody that's financially locked up for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I met somebody else, and he was good, but he had some other issues. So the more that I went through the people, and I said no to I said yes to like all the dates, but then I said, no, I want something different. Then the next one that came along had that something different, or
Okay.
had, as I clarified it.
Right. So you kept moving up the scale, so to speak.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Actually, something funny happened last week. I was driving around, and I saw two different couples standing near, like on the sidewalk, hugging and looking at each other. And so I looked at them, and I thought, yes, me too. I want that too. So then I had a date that night with an ex-boyfriend. We just were having dinner. And then at the end of the night, we're like standing on the sidewalk, hugging each other. And I'm like, oh, my God, that happened real fast.
Exactly. When you're clear, when you start getting into this and you get really clear about what you want, it all of a sudden shows up, and you're like, wow, I can't believe this.
Yeah.
It becomes pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's not the one I want to be standing on the sidewalk hugging, but okay, so he's the first step. Now we move on to someone I actually want.
Yeah, exactly. The universe is telling you that you can have anything you want. You want that? Here it is.
Right.
So now you just have to clarify it. Well, yes, I want it, but I want the guy to be 6 foot tall and da-da-da-da-da,
Exactly.
Emotionally available,
Yes.
single,
Yes, I also,
wants me.
yeah, and I also make sure to include straight.
Exactly. The whole list. And in the book I have you're going to do a list. I have you do you have a Plan a Man chapter where you're going to make a list of what's important to you, and I have would likes and negotiables and must-haves and deal breakers. So you're going to go through there and figure out what exactly you want, and then if the guy has all your must-haves, then the other parts are kind of negotiable. Because some women will go, they'll have a list that is so strenuous that no man can meet it.
Yeah.
Or they go into a relationship without a list and they try to change the guy because they don't really look for what they really want.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like most women, of course, I like a tall man myself. I'd prefer 6 foot. But for like the last 2 years, everyone I've dated has been like my height or shorter, and I'm only 5'6".
Ah, right. Yeah, so, and it depends on where it is on that list, you know. So some people would say that height could be a deal breaker. Other people would be negotiable. So it all depends on where it's important to you.
Yeah. So, okay, so we talked about male and female energy earlier. I want to touch upon that a bit more. So you said that you have to decide before your next relationship, once you finish these 12 steps, if you want to be the male or female energy. So talk a bit about that.
Well, the female energy is the receiving energy. So that the female also gives, but it's a softer energy. They're more gentle. The male energy is the pursuer. So in the relationship, he's going to pursue, and he's going to usually have the resources, the money, and he's going to make the plans, and then the woman receives, or the female receives. So he opens the door, he pays for the meals, and that's how the courtship begins. Now, later on, you can kind of negotiate those boundaries a little bit more if you get into a relationship, but you have to decide which way you want to be. Do you want to be the pursuer? Do you want to walk in? Do you want to call the shots, or are you willing to follow? Follow some, because you can't have two leaders.
Right.
You end up butting heads all the time. You have power struggles, and the relationship falls apart.
Well, what if you're mixed energy? Because I sometimes I like to be male and sometimes I like to be female.
Well, like I said, you can negotiate it later on once you get into a relationship, but you have to decide in the beginning which way you want to be. Now, as you get into the relationship, you can decide. Like, for example, in my relationship, I am definitely female energy. I want to be on the receiving end. I want to be taken care of. I want to be pampered. I like the female energy. I also give. I mean, I give with respect to taking care of him. I do all the cooking and that type of thing. I guess that's more of a female role. But in exchange, for that, you exchange the different energies, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I took over, he wanted me to take over, was the finance, writing the bills. Now, that's a predominantly male energy role, but we negotiated that. So we're more mixed energy. Does that make sense?
Right, yes.
So you do it, you negotiate it slowly, so you don't end up having a power struggle. Now, there's a few times where, because I lived on my own, and I have my certain things that I want and things I want in a certain way, that I've had to bite my tongue because I have to step back and go, all right, do I want to be happy or do I want to be right? And where am I really trying to go with this? Because sometimes I'll stay stubborn on something that really doesn't matter.
Like what? Like what were you used to doing on your own that you had to bite your tongue about?
It may be something to a way. I can't think of something.
Guess it wasn't that important then.
I remember one. The color of the living room. Now, I was like adamant that, I'm an artist, that I understand color, and that the color really needs to be I was going for a lighter color. Yeah. He wanted brown.
I know. Guys always want brown. Ew.
Exactly. And I'm like, you can't. So we're arguing over something as silly as the wall color, and I had to finally go, you know what? I'll tell you what. let's go with brown. That's fine. And I ended up doing, instead of fighting about it, I said, hey, how about a faux finish, like with a coffee, like a cream of a coffee. So we negotiated. I got him to go a little bit lighter, so it was more of a tan. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a real dark brown.
Yeah.
And then I got like a faux finish, so it was kind of like a leather look. It came out really great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had to get off my soapbox. I couldn't like stand there and hold my ground, because I would have lost, and that wouldn't be the proper energy.
Yeah, like
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I noticed that guys, like, especially, like, they always have this brown furniture, or they have these ugly beds with this big, dark wood. And a friend of mine actually had a bed like that. It was, like, horrible. And I go, if you got married and your wife didn't like this bed, would you change it? And he said, yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, anyway, he would be giving in. But sometimes you gotta like figure out exactly what's important to you.
Yeah.
Is the color of the furniture or the color of the wall that important compared to the relationship? So, and you got to look at the background too. And in his particular situation, he was married. He had been married before, mm-hmm. and his wife had a certain color palette, which actually happened to be very similar to mine. Mm-hmm. And he felt like he wasn't being represented. So when he wanted to go with the brown, that was really important to him, because he wanted to finally have a say in the color. So by me saying, okay, baby, let's work with the browns, that made him feel, it made him feel so much better than almost anything I could have done. Being nice or cooking him a meal or something like that, by saying, hey, let's work this out together, because it's really not that important to me. It's kind of, it's almost my ego wanted to say the color, because but I'm an artist, so in my house it's supposed to look like this. Right.
Wow, a whole discussion over the color of the living room. Now you said something which I thought was interesting. You used the word lazy. You said if your date has been dating mixed or male energy females, he may have become lazy. I've heard women using the word spoiled, that the guys are spoiled. They don't want to be the male energy. They don't want to come over. They don't want to drive. They don't want to pay. Do you think that if someone has become lazy, but you come at them with feminine energy, that it's possible they'll go back to being the dominant male?
Oh, yeah, they love it. All of a sudden they're going, whoa, where have you been all your entire life? I'm tired of all these women that don't appreciate a man. Let me open the door for you. Let me pay for this. They love it.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
They will snap out of that laziness instantly.
Snap out of it.
But they don't want to fight. They don't want to fight. They don't want to argue. They don't want to have it difficult. They just want to make it easy. But once you tell them the way you want to be treated, then it's so easy for them. Because they get confused with women that do mixed emotions. It's almost like, it's not really lazy. It's almost like they shut down because they really don't know what to do. One girl wants, they get upset if you offer to pay. They get upset if you want to go Dutch. What am I supposed to do? I don't know.
Right. I can see that. And then also you mentioned about the woman that in the book that when she was interested in men, she suddenly became male energy.
When she what?
When she was interested in a guy, she suddenly turned her male energy on?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. There's some women, all of a sudden, a man walks in the room and she wants him, she goes into hunter mode. She's like, pulls out the old...
the bow and arrow.
The old bow and arrow, exactly. And she's going to go get that guy. Now, if a guy is a pure male energy guy, he's going to be turned off by that. He doesn't want a woman that pursues him, because he's going to say, oh, this doesn't feel right. I'm supposed to be the pursuer. So if you want a male energy guy, if a female, what you're supposed to do is, there's a country song that says, hey, pretty lady, just give me the sign. That's what you're supposed to do. You give them the sign, and then you sit back. Men know the sign. They're going to pick it up. You don't have to beat them over the head with it.
No.
You give them a little smile, give them a little, little flip of the hair. They're coming. if
Right.
he's available,
Yes.
he's coming.
Yes.
He'll come to you. But if you go to pursue him, a lot of times you'll turn him off, or
And-
you'll make him lazy. Because what they'll do is they'll say, "Hey, she's coming at me like a man. She must want what a man usually wants. That would be a sexual relationship and nothing more."
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, the woman's all upset because she can't figure out why she can't get a relationship.
Yeah, and so then one final question. Do you think that's why, like, the guys that we're not interested in, that they're so interested in us? Because since we're not interested in them, we don't turn on our male energy. We stay in the female. We don't do anything, and that's why they're so interested.
Exactly. You get the ones you're not interested in, and I actually have that example in the book where the girl she became very, she starts going on an interview. She likes the guy. She's like, "What are you going to be in 5 years? Do you want to have children? You want to, she puts on his last name, tries it out. She's already married before the end of the date. And then the guy she doesn't like, she lets him go. She just listens to him. She laughs a little
Right,
bit.
yes.
But there's no pressure.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, the guy she's not interested in is going, "This girl's great. No pressure." And the other guy's going, "Oh my God, I was at the Spanish Inquisition."
So, yeah, that's what they mean when they say the guy that you like, you have to act as if you don't like him. So it means be female energy and don't pursue.
Exactly.
All right, good. Wonderful. All right, thank you so much. It's been great having
Thank
you
you,
on,
Lucia.
Dawn. Yeah, I think I learned a lot as usual. I'm sure a lot of people did. Again, the book, The Broken Picker Fixer, From Heartbreak to Soulmate, Finding the Love You Desire in 12 weeks or less. And there's a lot going on at the website. She's offering a lot of free things. And that's thebrokenpickerfixer.com.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. Well,
Wonderful.
take
Thank
care.
you so much, Lucia.
All right.
This was so much fun.
I'm glad I had fun. Okay. Bye, Dawn.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Another wonderful session with another wonderful author. Author. If I do say so myself. Arthur was the name of my masseur a few days ago. He said I looked 75. I think he meant 25. At least I hope so. Okay. It's time for me to hit the road. And thank you so much for joining me today. My website is theartoflove.net. My book, Lucia's Lessons of Love, is available at lessonsoflove.net. And until next time, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.
You're listening to The Art of Love with your host, Lucia, right here on LA Talk Radio.